We're gonna put this show on the road. As I've stated, for each one of these meetings, when we actually meet in person, which I hope is sometime, if City Hall isn't open until January, could be a while, we will affirm and acknowledge everything we've done throughout all these meetings. And I will also note that our minutes and the tape recording will be on our website after our meeting. Is that, you can do this call too.
What did he say? You want me to do the roll call?
Yeah.
Mr. Arcuri?
You hear?
You're here? No. Okay. Mr. Bova?
No.
Mr. Brodsky?
Here.
Mr. Core?
No.
Here. Mr. Coyne?
Here.
Mr. D'Elia?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Yes, here. Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Matolo? Mr. Sampson? And Ms. Chesney? Betty? No. Okay. We have 7.
Thanks, Sue.
Yep.
You have in your packet the July 20, 2020 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Bruce?
A second?
Okay.
Bruce? Any additions, corrections, deletions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda is a resolution regarding Welsh Bush Wells.
As if, whoever's on the phone, could you mute yourself, please?
I'll take that, Mr.
Say
D'Elia.
that again, Sue?
I just had someone mute
Dick, you
themselves.
gotta get a microphone closer to you.
Okay.
How's this?
There you
This
go.
good?
That's better, yep.
All right. Under agenda item number 4, we have one of 4 resolutions for tonight. We have 3 under agenda item number 5. The Capital Committee, all the members, either in person or by WebEx, met last Wednesday, the 12th, for quite a bit of discussion on all of these projects and our project updates under the capital program. They did elect to move to the full board all 4 resolutions that we have tonight. The very first one is for the rehabilitation, concrete rehabilitation of the Welsh Bush Road water tank. It's about a 45-year-old tank that was originally built to serve the West Frankfort Industrial Park under Economic Development Program. But it is 45 years old and it is showing some age. We need to replace the coating, repair some cracks, and some areas where we've lost a little more concrete to protect the steel underneath. As with any concrete structure, you want to make sure the steel maintains its integrity for strength. We did mention in the meeting that we do dive our tanks on average every 5 years with potable water divers, not taken out of service. We vacuum them clean and do an inspection. So we keep a pretty good track of what the tanks need and build these rehab projects into our capital plan. Went out for bids. It was publicly bid. We had 3 bidders. The low bidder was DN Tanks, and the N stands for Nat Gun, and they were the original constructor of the tank back in the mid-70s. We also had a second bid from another company, MGM Insulation, and a third bid. DN Tanks was low at $374,905, and I want to make a note that the amount in the resolution is $374,830. It should be corrected to $374,905. We looked over their proposal, their bid prices, everything looked good. They can do it within our schedule. They certainly have the qualifications, having not only built 5 of our tanks in the past, but also worked on several others on similar rehab projects. So with that, we would recommend to the full board that we do retain DN Tanks to complete the rehab project of the Welsh Bush Road water tank.
Any questions for Dick regarding this? Someone care to move the
will.
resolution as presented in our packet with the correction of the amount being $374,905?
I will. I'll make a motion.
Dave moved it.
Second,
Who seconded it?
Vince second.
did you get any of that too?
Yes, I did.
I think we had 100 motions and 200 seconds.
Okay. I have
Any
it.
further comments or concerns, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thanks, Dick. You might as well roll right into the next one.
Okay, under agenda item 5, we actually have 3 separate resolutions, and those are related to engineering services that we need for some of the projects that we're applying for FEMA funding. I did send
I'm
out
sorry,
the...
Dick, I just want to remind everybody you sent out an email regarding that.
I was just gonna mention
within
that.
our minutes of the Capital Projects Committee.
Right, and attached to that minutes was these 3 resolutions. They did not go in the original board package. But our FEMA program is pretty significant. We have 24 project locations where we suffered damage. 3 of them where we had to do repairs last year, and we're actually in the process of starting to receive reimbursement for that work that should add up close to $70,000. If you take all the locations, we're well over $5 million in repair costs. The one new effort that the FEMA is encouraging this year, this round, is hazard mitigation. That is, you build it back better than it was before. In order to do that, you have to provide some engineering support. And they have a certain format for an engineering study and report. We have about 10 projects where we're going to recommend we do that. The Mohawk Valley Water Authority is going to do reports. We've done 1. We're going to do 3 more in-house. But we do need some assistance just because of the scope of the work from outside consultants. And the first resolution under agenda item number 5 is for a FEMA required study on the 36-inch transmission line crossing at the West Canada Creek below Prospect Dam. At the foot of the dam, our main crosses the dry creek most of the time in a concrete encasement, and it has been damaged by this most recent storm and some storms previously. So we'd recommend that we hire Jacobs Engineering, who did some study work a few years ago for us on the transmission lines, to provide those services. Jacobs also does a great deal of FEMA worked on the Superstorm Sandy rehab, and has done a lot of that work, so we recommend them because of their past experience. And that would be at a cost of $15,202 to do that standard FEMA required report. So we would recommend that Jacobs Engineering, the Syracuse office, be retained to provide those services.
Any questions for Dick regarding this item? Someone care to move?
I'll do it again. 15,000.
$202.
Thank you. Any further discussion regarding this?
Who's the second?
We need a
All those in
second.
favor?
Well, is there a second?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't have
Let's do-
I don't have a second motion on that.
Bruce.
Bruce second. Chuck Kell second.
Okay. good.
Okay. Next, the second of
Any
the,
further discussion, any further discussion on that one? Did we already vote?
We
Yes.
just voted.
Yes.
Yes.
No. All right, next. Sorry.
okay, no problem.
All right.
The second resolution under agenda item number 5 is for...
This isn't easy, you know.
I know.
No, it's not.
You just make it look easy.
It's easy
right?
for us. Yeah. This is for the same scope of services for 4 separate locations on our transmission lines in Marcy mostly. They're located where they cross ravines and small streams. Again, we've suffered some erosion damage, and GHD engineers who helped us out again a couple years ago to permit these crossings. We actually have them in our capital plan for repairs, and we actually repaired one of the worst ones a few years ago. And we've also staged materials, backfill materials and stone filling, heavy stones along the transmission line. So we have some of the materials available, but 4 of the locations do need the reports. We can do some enhanced mitigation, and GHD worked earlier on the permitting with the DEC, so we actually have about 11 locations permitted. And we recommend that they would complete these services for those 4 locations at $43,600. So about $11,000 per location for that standard report.
Any questions for Dick regarding this item? A motion for approval?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Dave and Bruce. Okay.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Number 3, Dick?
Okay, the last resolution under agenda item number 5 is for some work up at the treatment plant. We have 3 lagoons that we alternate using to separate solids that we filter out from the backwash water. That water is then discharged through what we call a dispersion area or another smaller lagoon into the West Canada Creek through a heavy rock wall or bank. And that bank basically got wiped out during the Halloween storm. We had over 30,000 cubic feet per second of water running through there. On a typical day, we might have 3 or 4 because it's the part of the creek that's dry. So that needs to be reconstructed. And again, we're recommending GHD here, not only build it back the way it was, but do some work to make it resist any future storms. GHD, formerly Stearns and Wheeler Engineers, helped us out a couple of years ago on our permitting through these facilities for our Speedies permit. That is the discharge permit with the DEC for discharge of our wastewater, decant water into the West Canada Creek, where we monitor for all kinds of parameters. So they're very familiar with this location and the technology and the process. So again, we would recommend that GHD engineers out of Syracuse be retained for this work, and that is at a cost of $12,500.
Any questions for Dick regarding this item? And again, all these were reviewed by the Capital Projects Committee and recommended for approval. A motion to approve?
I'll make it.
Mr. Coyne, okay.
You got that, Sue?
Yes, and who's
We
second?
have a motion, a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
I second.
Dave?
Yeah, okay, I'm good.
Any further discussion or comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Are you still with us, Jim?
I am.
All right, we'll make it a quick report. You can get to the game.
Okay. Very quickly, for the month of July, cash was down just a little bit, but overall, we're still in the positive for the year. However, we're still below budget. Consumption is 3% below right now, but we're kind of treading water as far as consumption is concerned. We haven't really had a huge downturn, so overall, we're doing well. We're going to need to get some extra cash in the next couple months so that we can make some of those large payments that are in the last quarter of the year.
Anything else, Jim?
Nope.
Well, as I said last month, my wife is contributing greatly with all the gardening spraying she's got going on.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Any questions for Jim?
I had one real quick question, Jim. On page 5, water consumption, I took an average, and
Okay.
on average we're about 4.5, 4.6, and I averaged it out based on what we've been doing at about 4.2. So our deficit is going to
Okay.
be roughly 200 to 300,000, or it should be million, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Consumption, you're
Yeah.
okay. Yep. Yeah, and we've been tracking it, and so last month we were down a little more than 3%. We've actually come up a little, so we're only down about 3% for the year is what we have. we make some adjustments to consumption. There's some adjustments that occurred from prior months, so maybe that's the reason why you have a little different.
So, okay, because as we head into the budgeting process, probably next month then, right? We'll start looking at it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And right
Yeah.
now, our biggest problem really is
Yep.
cash collections. You know, we've billed it, the water's been used, but bringing the money in has been a little difficult, especially since the state passed a law that we're not allowed to discontinue water service. So, coming up though, we'll be doing a pull-off to send to tax rolls, and it's quite a bit higher than an average year that we'll be pulling out of our billing system and re-levying to property taxes. And then after that, we wait to see when the taxes are paid, we'll get the remittance, but there's a lag.
All right,
So just having the cash on hand, as Jim said, is really the greater challenge right now.
Yeah, our receivables are up several $100,000 compared to last year, so we keep looking at that, and unfortunately, collections are going to be difficult going into the latter part of the year.
thank you.
Anything else, Dave?
No?
Anything else for Jim? Good luck at the game, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Next,
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna be, we're moving Betty a little bit closer. You can see on the screen, this is Betty here. She's on alternate connection. You're on now.
we can hear you.
This is Sue's cell phone on speakerphone, so she's on an alternate connection. At any rate, a couple quick things I'll go through. Hinkley Reservoir right now is hovering at elevation right around 1210, which is about 6 feet below the 23-year running average. The good news is it's about 7.5 feet above where we were in 2007 when we had a really bad year. We lost about a foot over the last week. Continuing that trend, it's not necessarily detrimental to us. It's a little lower than we'd like it, but the Canal Corporation is continuing to under-release through operating diagram deviations. So they're running the release rate at about 250 CFS compared to 400, which is where it should be. So it's not dropping as fast as it would, and that just goes to show you that what we've said all along for years is smaller adjustments early on can avoid a catastrophe and the need for larger adjustments. We are still having weekly phone calls as per our communication protocol from the settlement agreement. That's been happening since early May, and we will continue to do that. We have another call this Wednesday morning. But if we get a little rain, we could recover, and normally as it drops during the year, it would be going down anyway, so hopefully it'll be some point where we'll be sort of back into average territory, and it usually fills up again in the fall when we get the fall rains. So we're not imperiled by it by any stretch, so that's the good news. Jim and his department
Well, I'm
have
glad
had,
the
I'm sorry,
cooperation is there, Pat.
I'm sorry, Ellis, what's
I
that?
said, I'm glad the cooperation is there, and it's good to acknowledge that.
Yeah. The parties have been very good. Howard Goebel has called me several times just on as a side channel to reassure us that they're doing everything they can to monitor it. He also had
Yeah,
told
we
me.
were at props last week.
Pardon?
We were at props last week.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I know, but he did give us a promise that when they were filling the canal to open up for navigation, that they weren't going to use Hinkley Reservoir at all. And they did make good on that. In fact, I was down on Long Island over the weekend and driving back last night along the Mohawk. It is full right now. I didn't see any boats, but it's full. But they were able to achieve navigation levels in the canal without using any water from Hinkley Reservoir. So they did promise that. They kept that promise, so we appreciate it. Our budget department requests from our department heads are all due by the end of next week. And then we will begin the internal budget process in earnest in time to have a draft budget for all of you for the September meeting. We'll just need to figure out how we'll go through the budget, in a virtual setting like this. Maybe we can do some screenshots and walk you through the spreadsheets and you can actually see them on screen. So we'll figure that out.
Will we get a calendar next month for
Yeah.
schedule and what we're gonna try to do?
You should have mailed to you in hard copy, not only the calendar of everything, but also the printouts of the draft budget, so you have time to review it, look at the line-by-line information and ask questions. Right now, we're envisioning doing a budget workshop either in place of the September meeting or maybe at 4 o'clock ahead of the September meeting. That's something else that we'll talk with you about and see what your
Yeah.
preference might be. But either way, mark the
Sure.
date. The September board meeting will be, as far as we can see right now, the first budget workshop with the board and the first cut at the draft budget. So, on another note, the debt service reserve account, we had planned to tap to the tune of about $940,000 to make a debt payment. You might recall we had some new debt service kicking in, some old debt service being retired. They were gonna overlap by a year. Rather than having to accrue $1 million on a one-time basis through a rate increase, we realized that because we had paid down a lot of debt, there was excess reserve funding. We're getting ready to pull that down now. Our bond counsel has given us the letter, or is about to give us the letter, I should say, to authorize the trustee at Bank of New York to make those changes, free that money up, and make those payments. So that's all gonna happen over the next 30 days or so, and then we'll be in pretty good territory after that. So just as a status update, the bonding process is moving ahead on a fairly aggressive timetable. The underwriters are right now are anticipating actually pricing the bonds within 6 weeks, and then being able to close 2 weeks after that. So we have a tentative closing date of October 2nd, but they hope to be pricing in late September, about 5 to 6 weeks from now. So hopefully we'll stay on that schedule and we'll lock it in before anything happens in the bond market. And if that all goes smoothly, we should be able to take advantage of some pretty low interest rates. Last thing I'll mention real quickly is that, you know, we're still proceeding fairly normally here, despite everything else going on in our community and economically. We do have crews that are still reporting to remote locations, so they're staying separated. Knock on wood, we haven't had any further incidents of COVID within our own ranks. The guys are staying safe and healthy out there. We're moving ahead on a lot of fronts. We have a meeting next week on the Ilion Pipeline project that's being set up. The funding for that project right now remains frozen by the state. I think the state is probably waiting to see if we're gonna get some federal money in this next package that's gonna be put together. So I suppose I'm hoping they're only holding it back till they see what the federal government might do. Then some of this grant money will get freed up. If it's not, we may see some delays in the start of that project. So I'll get a better idea. Hopefully Dick and I will be in this meeting with the Canal Corp and others to discuss the route of the pipeline and the project status. And we might know a little more about the finances of it by then. So we'll keep you posted on that. And as far as business proceeding here, our IT department, Jim Mack and his staff, just finished up a whole range of new features that they've been able to build into the work order system. So we're still making improvements across our platform, and we're still moving ahead. The Brock project is getting ready to kick off for the skater redevelopment. So things are moving along. I don't think that we're experiencing a lot of workflow delays right now because of the pandemic situation. The biggest problem we're having is with our finances right now, but other than that, we're getting the work done and things are proceeding rather smoothly, I think.
Great. Any questions for Pat? Any old business? Any new business?
One item I wanted to bring up that we discussed
Oh, yeah.
at our capital meeting last week was to have a ribbon cutting little PR deal at the Snowden Hill tank.
Yeah.
And we kind of
Yep.
tentatively been hitting on about the 26th.
And thanks, Bruce, for the suggestion. Good idea. So, and we're gonna make it a media availability event with a tour and all of that sort of thing. So, and then fire department, Dave, I think I saw
Yeah,
your
they
email,
confirmed.
is eager to participate in this thing.
Yeah.
So this will be a good public awareness opportunity.
Next week,
Yep.
it's next week.
Great.
And as that gets
Awesome.
scheduled, we'll let everybody know in case people want to come in person and show up and watch, as long as we all distance ourselves.
All right.
It'll be a good thing.
And if you
Well,
show up,
Dave,
make sure you
thanks
bring your
for,
badge.
I know the fire department's from you, so thank you very much for that.
It's all right, we got some good PR, it's well deserved.
Anything else on the new business front? We're adjourned, everybody. Stay
Okay,
safe.
thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye,
Thanks for
everyone.
joining us.
Bye.
Be well.
Bye, Betty.
Has left the meeting.